My evil sister accuses me of cheating on my own wife, which I would never do. And then she wants to get a divorce from her husband, and she comes begging me for money assistance. And I say, "Oh, you want me to help you after you tried to ruin everything?" She has the audacity to say this: "I've been in a terrible situation. I've been wronged so many times by my own family, and I don't even know which ones have been the breaking point that caused me to come here to vent my anger. I think first it's necessary to give some background to explain how this behavior reached this level, and why our responses were as they were. It's a long read, I apologize for that. So, ever since I, 27 male, could remember, my parents loved my sister more because she's the younger one. I don't mean in subtle ways either. I mean, if Emily accused me of something, they would believe it and punish me. If I accused her, they would not believe me because according to them, she's an honest person. The truth is, she's a great actor who pretends to be a good person. Even if there were proof, they would still give her a less punishment and try to find a way to just scold me. My birthday cake had to be flavored the way that she wanted it. Hers did not, and my parents always denied knowing that I did not like that type of cake. They always bought her a bit more than they did for me, and we went to where she wanted, even if it was an event that should have been about me. She grew up spoiled, and, I did not, and just used me as a punching bag. At first, she mostly ignored me, but then it got really bad when we were early teenage years. She found herself with no friends, and her behavior got worse. Did her friends move, or did they ditch her because she was so mean? I don't know, because we were never close, and my parents loved to boast about her achievements over and over, but never ever mentioning any of her issues, whereas with me, they love to bring out my flaws constantly as, quote, "they're just teasing." I only knew that she had no friends because we went to the same school, and I noticed that she was no longer walking around with people. Anyways, she had no friends. I did. I used to be decently popular. She realized that, and suddenly I stopped being the occasional punching bag and became a hated person whom she needed to take down at all times. She started accusing me of more stuff, and she accused my friends of stuff too. The parents stopped allowing me to hang out with anyone, with excuses ranging from, "They're not good people according to our sister," to, "Why are you trying to leave us? Why can't you be like your sister and just enjoy family time?" What saved me from complete isolation was my extended family. Most of them lived in the same town, and I got along with my cousins despite some age difference. At one gathering, they invited me over to something, and I don't really remember what it was, and I sadly replied that I was not allowed to go anywhere. When asked why, my kid self with no filter replied that it's because I was not allowed to have friends since my sister didn't have any. Well, that reached the adults who apparently tore my parents apart. Later, I was scolded for lying and was grounded for a month. And my sister changed schools. I guess the humiliation of our extended family about knowing her loneliness was too much for her. So she demanded that her school be changed, and my parents immediately just obliged, even though it cost them more since the school was further away. But she made friends in the new school. However, she never stopped hating me. Her friends would come over and bully me, and my parents called it light teasing. I never invited my friends over because my parents were awful hosts. Or Emily would accuse them of taking stuff, and my parents would believe it. I moved out when I hit the age of 18. College was my savior. I started being happy, and I still contacted my parents and visited them on holidays and such. Emily stopped going to college 3 months in and moved back home, paying no bills or rent, but it's, quote, different, my parents said. I worked my butt off in my last 2 years of undergrad and got my acceptance into a good law school, and it offered me an insane scholarship. I met my now ex-wife, Martha, at orientation. We started dating during our first semester of 2L year. We were engaged halfway through 3L year and got married a month after taking the bar exam, and 2 months before Emily's wedding day. We were actually engaged during a family law class, and our professor got a kick out of it. We planned our wedding while studying for the bar, and we were on our honeymoon when we got our bar results. She practices civil litigation, and I practice family law. We work for the government, so we have good jobs, but not big lawyer money. A lot of law school friends said that they would never date or marry a lawyer, but I found it to be really great. Since we're in the same field, we both understood the stress and demands of the job and could take turns supporting one another when work got really busy or stressful for the other person. We shared common goals and hobbies besides the law, and we also had a great intellectual conversation, which I very much enjoyed. About a year ago, out of the blue, Emily told me she wants to take me clubbing, as we've never been together, and she felt bad that she was so distant to me. I agreed, and we went out clubbing. Well, clubbing was not really my style, but once I had a few drinks, I loosened up and began to have a bit of fun. The night was going smooth until Emily spots a guy across the room who she claimed she wanted to, quote, climb like a tree. She walked over to him, and within a few minutes she was back and had a sour expression upon her face. I asked her what's up, but she never said anything. I kept pressing because I didn't want our night to be ruined. She then told me the guy did not want her number, but he wanted mine instead. I told her that there were plenty of straight guys around who would kill to be with a girl like her, but she did not budge. She told me she needed to use the restroom and when we would leave. I waited for an hour, and during this time I was sipping on a lot of different cocktails. I then started feeling really dizzy and lightheaded. I figured I'd just catch an Uber to go home, as I was certain that she had left. On the way out, though, I bumped into her friend Shelby, whom she had mentioned countless times before. Shelby asked me if I needed a hand to get my car. I told her, no, I'm going to get an Uber. She said that she was getting ready to leave and we could share one. So I told her okay, and we walked out of the club together and into the first Uber that we could get. I tried to find my phone, but I felt myself getting dizzier and dizzier. I don't remember what happened next as I blacked out, and the next morning I woke up on a sofa and my head was pounding. I realized I was in Shelby's house. My phone was sitting on the glass table in front of me, but it was flat. When she noticed I was awake, she offered me some tablets and water and explained that I passed out in the cab, and she picked me up and took me to where she laid me on the sofa. I told her I need to go home as Martha would be worried. She called me a cab and I left. I had my breakfast at a local diner, trying to piece together what happened. When I came home, my parents, Emily, my grandparents, Martha, my in-laws, my aunts and uncles and cousins were all standing in the living room. I thought they were worried about me, but the instant I opened my mouth, Martha asked how I could do this to her. I tried to explain that my phone went dead, but she went on about how I could cheat on her. I was baffled about why she would think that. I tried to explain the night's events, but I kept getting cut off. Emily then chimed in and said I was lying crap, and how could I be so heartless to a woman who's been there for me through thick and thin? She then went on to say I kept flirting with random women all night, and then when she went to the bathroom, she saw me leave with Shelby. Well, I told her what happened, and then she showed us all the photos on her phone where Shelby's hand was on my back, ushering me outside as we were leaving. Well, yeah, the photo did look horrible, and I was drunk, so I didn't even realize her hand was on my back at all. Martha was so angry, and her mom and mine were both crying. So I then asked Emily to call Shelby, and she would confirm that nothing had happened, but when she called her, she told a completely different story. I saw red and started crying and yelling at Emily because I knew that she had organized this whole thing to make me look bad. She did not think of anyone but herself and humiliated me in front of our family. She then showed us some fake photos where I appeared to be kissing Shelby in front of her house. They were probably created by a deepfake AI app. I don't know what they're called, but you may have seen them with like Abraham Lincoln winking. And I got so angry and slapped her for insulting me. Martha defended her, saying that Emily had already shown her the photos that morning, and it was Martha who suggested to her that she should call a family meeting and expose me to them. I tried to explain to her that Emily must have asked Shelby to come and escort me out of the club so she could get photos, making her plan work. I begged her to believe me, but she just shook her head and left. When everybody had cleared out, my mom slapped me across the face and told me to think about what I've done. When I called her out on believing a pathological liar, she said, "We don't believe her entirely, but we have to take this seriously." Well, if you take this seriously, then you're fueling her fire more. I went to a friend's house where I stayed for a few nights. During those nights, I called Martha, crying and pleading with her to believe me that nothing happened and Emily was just jealous of our happy life together. But it all fell on deaf ears as she never returned any of my calls or text messages. My dad texted me and told me that they could not believe I would do such a thing, and a lot of hurtful other slurs that I don't even think I can repeat here. When I came back home, all her things were gone. That's when I realized that she's made up her mind. For weeks, I tried everything to get her and my family back. One day, she came over so we could talk and told me that she had decided to divorce me. She served me the papers and told me that her decision was final, and guys, it ducking hurt me. I was pacing back and forth after she left, crying my eyes out. When Christmas time rolled around, I went to my parents' house and tried to just reconcile a bit. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. My friend then called me and told me he just saw me on Facebook that my family was in another state celebrating the Advent season and they had posted pictures right there online. Oh, okay. So, everybody was there. My parents, grandparents, Emily, and other family members, and when I saw the photos, I could not stop crying as they all looked so happy. And my divorce was finalized about 5 months ago. She didn't want anything from me. She didn't go after the 401k, the checking, the savings, nothing. All she wanted was her car and some furniture. I miss her a lot. She would stay up and watch movies with me or play old-school video games, and we would talk about current events or work drama. She was supportive of my goals and dreams, and my family loved her, and still does to this day. She was considerate and thoughtful, positive and funny. But we went our separate ways after the divorce. One day, I was in an internet cafe doing some work. It's the only internet cafe in our city, and it's exactly like the ones that were popular in the 90s, and it's actually one of my favorite spots. So, I've been working for around 40 minutes now when Emily came in, which was weird for me because she had never shown much interest in the internet. She didn't notice that I was there and handed some cash to a guy working at the cafe. I showed up in front of her and asked about it, and she said, "Well, mind your own business." She then accused me of spying on her and, quote, putting her under a microscope. The Good Samaritan managing the cafe decides to turn my computer off after seeing the sad humanitarian scene of this brother bothering his sister, who was telling him to leave her alone. He decided to be a good man and help this poor woman, and he turned off my computer. So I confront her again that she was definitely paying for him to create the fake photos, at which she gets furious, telling me I was like our mentally ill mid-80s grandmother who's constantly having to go to our grandpa and being unable to distinguish reality from, well, my own delusions. Long story short, the owner of the cafe got involved and told me to leave. I wanted to tell Martha what had just happened, but even though Emily got caught red-handed, it was too late for me to tell her about this because the divorce had already been finalized. So, a couple days ago, I received a call from my dad that Emily was having the divorce talks and probably needed a lawyer. He asked if I was going to call her. I told him that I could not be there to support her while she continuously tried to tear me apart. He was clearly upset with me, but I can't undo everything she did prior to her needing me. So, she texted yesterday asking to meet up. I never replied, and I was planning on organizing a Zoom meeting, but did not need to, as she showed up at my office. She tried to hug me, but I pushed her away and asked what she was doing here. She went on and on to explain that she and her husband were getting a divorce and she needed my help. Well, I laughed at that and just went into detail about how much she hurt me and what it felt like seeing them so happy without me and how hard it's been. She said that she did not mean anything bad, but was mad at me for not admitting my fault. Since this post is already pretty long, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. She asked me to represent her because she did not have money to hire a divorce lawyer. Well, when I asked her what happened, she reached this point. She said that she's been unhappy for years and felt his working too much was abuse, and she always had to cancel plans because she never knew when he would be home from work. And she has had to make plans, herself smaller to fit into his work schedule. She's a stay-at-home mom and has only been married for 2 years. They were both living in a $400,000 house that was gifted to her by her parents. Well, by the way, I got absolutely nothing, so he had to move out. My response was that these sound like communication issues and they should try counseling to see if they can work through it. In response, my suggestion, she said that it was absolutely disgusting, that I would even recommend that they try to work it out. I lost it. I yelled at her that she deserved to get a divorce and that I didn't blame her husband for prioritizing work. Needless to say, she was very mad, and predictably so were my parents, who said that I should not have, quote, kicked her while she was down, and that they're disappointed in their son who could not help his precious baby sister. She's told them that she's, quote, willing to patch things up with me if I apologize to her about the situation. And I outright laughed and said, hell no, you can go to hell. They blamed me and wanted to basically disown me, even though she's been the one terrorizing me for so many years. I just ignored my parents. I essentially cut them off. I ignored Emily too. My aunt and grandma are not happy that I've ignored her and won't help. The rest of the family also are not too happy with me and have tried to use the fact that we are siblings to spark some care in me. But the truth is, I cannot stand her and I don't care about her enough to help her. Honestly, I think our whole family should just drop her. I've been trying to convince them too, but they won't listen to me. I just needed to write this out and get it off my chest. Anyways, I will update soon. Update number 1. Well, guys, I don't even know where to begin. I'm honestly so grateful for all the support, advice, beautiful messages, and awards you guys have gifted. Here's an update. I'm already upset, but Emily texts me things like I'm destroying her life, and she sends me these text messages warning about how I will face religious consequences for my actions, and that I will, quote, burn in hell. She's probably sent me 100+ text messages while I've chosen to only respond to it like 8 times. My dad only reached out to me 2 times, only to tell me that I will suffer for the choices I'm making, and once more just to call to tell me how Emily is in bad shape and that it's entirely my fault. Anyways, I'm ignoring them all. Thank you, guys, for being so patient and so caring and just amazing. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So now, I found an update, but this update comes from Emily. That's right, Emily must have found the post about her brother, and now she's coming to post her own post. Here it is, update number 2, from the perspective of Emily. Hey, I'm Emily, the sister whom my brother Adam has talked about in this post. I don't use this thread, but my best friend sends me a story that's exactly identical to my life. I recognized his voice immediately, and after reading the first few lines, his username is an old family inside joke, and I confronted him about all this, and he argued that because it's his personal account, he can post what and when he wants on it, and that he has the right to use his account as a safe place to vent. So, I just tried to explain to him that it's disrespectful to me, and that while yes, it's his account, he's posting about me falsely in public. Well, and on the internet. And therefore, it's no longer personal, but he's been ignoring me. Well, I'm here to tell you the truth and set the record straight because his story was completely made up and vague. When he said he never cheated on Martha, he's a liar. I saw him flirt with Shelby and followed their car. I saw him kiss her, and I have 10 to 12 photos of them kissing. I told our parents about this and they were livid because they love him and have always been extremely supportive. He thinks that I'm the golden child, but he is so wrong. Anyways, they advised me to tell Martha. The next morning, I get a call from her, asking if I knew where he was because his number wasn't reachable. This put me in a very uncomfortable position, and I honestly did not want to get involved, but it disgusted me that he would cheat on her, and I knew that she deserved the truth. I asked to meet her for a bit of coffee, and that's when I told her what I knew, and she was absolutely devastated. I showed her the photos, even. She was heartbroken and disappointed that she thought that he was, well, the one, and, well, then realized he was not the person she thought he was. She said that the family should be aware of the situation, so I called for a family meeting, while Adam claimed I was selfish when showing family members the photos, and I felt bad that this upset him. They were family, and they decided to know what was happening. In the call, Shelby said that he had asked her to take him to her place, and she did, adding they slept together multiple times. While he denied cheating with Martha, well, Martha confronted him and told her that I was just jealous of him. A major issue I see with this story is that he cannot explain the photos other than saying that they were deep fake. The reason why they broke up is not because of my evil plan, how he puts it, but because he did cheat on her. In college, he was this stereotypical frat boy womanizer. Almost everyone knew this, and he slept with a lot of women and would get into relationships with some of them and then cheat on them just a few months later. The first few times I told him he was being dumb and can't do that, but he kept doing it anyways. So, after a while, I just kinda gave up on him ever changing. Anyways, after I got home, I got a text from him reading, "Thanks a lot, you ducking jerk. Thanks to you, Martha has left me. This is all your fault because you could not stay out of my business, and you always have to get involved because you're a sad, miserable, lonely woman who no one could ever love." Then he started getting more furious at me because Martha was threatening divorce, and I was tearing up his family because I told her without asking him first. Apparently, he didn't tell her that he was at Shelby's place that night because he thought she would be worried. Yeah. Anyways, I finally offered a job. It was a big city job with a lot of opportunities, and everything was finally falling into place for me, with one huge problem. The job was in a city 2 hours away and could not be done remotely. Moving was expensive, my emergency fund was basically tapped out, and I would not get relocation until my first paycheck. I needed to get a moving truck and put the first month's rent plus a security deposit on a new apartment, and I did not have the cash. So, as soon as I did the math, I drove straight to Adam's office. The whole reason I got in contact with him was because I had no money for being able to pay for a lawyer, and neither did our parents. I've never asked him for help before, and he knows deep down that he was the cause of his divorce. So I was pretty sure that he would be willing to lend me help. So I told him that I was getting a divorce and it would be great if he could just represent me, and I promised to give him my entire relocation as soon as I get paid. And, I'll pay off the rest of the money the following month. He starts to scream at me, saying, "Yeah, you can't expect me to just help you after you ruined my life." I could not even respond. Then he laughs and continues saying, "You destroyed everything I had, and now you have the audacity to come here and ask for my help." I meekly reply, with my voice shaken, that I never intended to ruin his life, and that he should have just admitted to cheating on Martha instead of being so dishonest. He just continued to yell that I should not have interfered. I was completely humiliated. I still am, and tried not to cry as much as I could and just requested him to help me at this time, and I would never ever bother him again. Well, he asked me why I was even getting a divorce, and I told him everything. He just assumed things and gave me unsolicited advice and minimized everything I said. I've thought long and hard before making this decision, guys, and his utter dismissal of everything that's gone into this decision was offensive. Even if counseling would help, it would have been much more helpful and kinder for him to say, "I'm so sorry to hear that. Is it possible the relationship is worth saving? Do you think counseling could possibly help?" Instead, he told me what I should do, and when I told him that it was a disgusting thing to say, he said I deserved to be a divorced woman and stormed out. Everyone saw me trying to hold back tears, and they were just trying to comfort me, saying, "It's okay, just ignore him, he's an idiot." I just kept my head down in shame. Something he forgot to mention is that before he left, he told me that he would represent my husband so he could teach me a lesson in court. This is why our entire family wants to disown him now. Well, Martha came to know about this and offered to represent me. She said that she's quite experienced in family law as well, and that I should have asked her for help first. She also said that she had considered the potential conflicts and sought guidance from the local bar association. Our parents confronted Alex for wanting to represent my ex, but instead of apologizing, he just screamed. Well, always caring for me, he said. He blames everything on everyone but him. He's convinced himself that he's the victim or the scapegoat or the golden child, I don't know. The house was not gifted to me without a reason. Our father owned 2 houses, and the second one was our grandmother's. It needed work, but it's a nice house. He made it clear that he would reward us if we helped him fix it up. Adam didn't even help him when our dad asked, and I, on the other hand, went full force into fixing the home. I tossed myself into the project to distract myself from my messed up relationship. At one point, my father just gave me the keys and told me he trusted me. The whole thing helped us bond more than ever, and I learned a ton of skills. Anyways, it took about a year of doing each work weekend, and the home was looking great. Dad decided to just give me the home. He called me down and had all the paperwork lined up. Well, I was excited and happy because this spot was almost perfect. You know, a good area and not far from friends and family. Dad was getting crap from Adam about giving me the home, but he made it clear that he did not help, so why would he give anything for that house anyways? I feel so relieved writing this comment. It's a new low even for him to completely make up things about this family. I just blocked his profile. Update number 3. Final update, still from the perspective of Emily. Hey guys, about a year ago, I added comments on my brother's post about my accusing him of cheating on his wife. On mobile, and not sure how to link this post, sorry. First, I would like to say thank you to everybody for your kind words and messages that I've received. It helped me more than I could ever have thought to tell you. I wish I could personally thank each and every one of you. You guys are honestly so nice. Well, my heart's been touched by the amount of love and support I got. Anyways, my ex was so mad that I was divorcing him. He broke into my house and tore up all kinds of things. I'm talking broke my jewelry, tore up my clothing. Where he cut holes in all of them, I couldn't prove it, but of course it was him. When we went to court, Adam gave the judge a 2-page list of things my ex supposedly brought to the house with him prior to our marriage that I, quote, refused to return. Martha showed me the list, and it was stuff that he never owned in the first place. He totally wanted me to pay fines for contempt of court. But Martha told me that the things my ex said were things that did not give much of a description. For example, he said there was a watch, but did not say what kind of watch. He said there was jewelry sets, but didn't say what kind of jewelry. Her point was that if I went around and bought everything on the list, it would be easier, rather than enduring the weight of having to fight about the items and did not exist and possibly losing. I agreed, knowing it would also be worth him being livid that Adam's plan did not work. So I made a game out of it. I went around to pawn shops and resale stores, and I told, whoever was in charge that I was on a scavenger hunt of sort, and I briefly explained what's happening. They all loved the idea and helped me get through my list rather quickly. It was so much fun, and we got home. We had to videotape boxing them all up and going through the items one by one. Martha quickly told the judge that I found the items in the attic, and I had not seen them before. Oh, so sorry. It was an intensely risky move for her, but I'm grateful for her help. The judge told her to simply drop the box of belongings off at Adam's office, simply, and that the divorce was final. The judge was just relieved to get his waste of time, petty nonsense out of his courtroom because he knew it was a load of crap. My only regret is not being able to see my ex's face when he opened up the box of garbage, and there was nothing he could say because he made the stuff up in the first place. It was a handwritten list, and there was no serial numbers. No indicating marks, no ages, only dates. There was absolutely no description, and that alone is what gave Martha the idea. As we walked out of the court premises, Adam tried to talk to her in a corner and ended up forcefully kissing her. Well, right then and there, Martha slapped him as hard as she could muster. It wasn't a full force slap, she missed, but it was definitely quick and hard. Few people around saw this and gasped. He never showed his face again. It's been more than a year, and I still get joy thinking about everything that happened that day. Well, about a month later, he reported Alex to the bar for being incompetent and misrepresenting facts. It turns out he was one of like 5 other lawyers who reported him, so they didn't need anything else from my ex other than his sworn complaint. He was reprimanded by the bar. It was amazing that he even held his license for so long with all this going on. See guys, this is why I love when I find stories that has two different people's perspective of the story that were both involved in it, because you can really see a whole story sort of form together, and the fact that OP's story does not match his sister's at all. We learn that, oh, there's more to the pictures. It seems like there's kissing involved and it wasn't just a hand on the back. But I do want to know what you guys think. Do you like these stories where it has two different people's perspectives? Let me know in the comment section down below. This one had a lot of drama in it. And guys, if you do want these daily stories, I'd say the best way is simple. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. That way YouTube will actually tell you, hey, there's a new juicy story ready to listen to. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.